Welcome back to Razmafsar TV. I'm really happy to have Peter Dekker back on our channel. Hi, Peter. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Thank you very much, Peter. Peter is the owner of Mandarin Mansion, which has a very professional website, and offers not only antiques and antiquities, arms and armor, but what I'm really impressed by Peter and of his website, which I have been saying to all colleagues and also to many collectors, is the detailed analysis he keeps putting on his website, which makes his website a resource for people who are interested in arms and armor. So Peter, before we go ahead, I would like you to give again a short introduction to yourself and to Mandarin Mansion, please.
Yeah. So I started this around the year 2000, and I was mostly interested in Chinese arms. So that's why I called it Mandarin Mansion. I thought I would maybe branch out into other parts of antiques, like Chinese antiques. But I think the weapon part was more strong with me than the other stuff. So instead of branching out to other Chinese antiques, I branched out into other weapons. So the name Mandarin Mansion is, maybe a little bit too limited. But everybody knows my website now, so yeah, I'm not gonna change it either. So that's how this came to be, because I thought it would be fun to have everything that would be in the house of a Mandarin, the military and civil officers of the Qing. And since recently we actually have a mansion, because I used to deal from home, and now we're building a gallery. This is half of it.
Beautiful.
There will be an opening probably in April if everything goes well, which it never does, of course. But it's different to sit here and people look into the window, and very different from sitting behind a website. But I like it. It's nice to play a shop.
So people can come in and visit your, shop, and then look at the items and so, right?
Yeah. So for now it's on appointment, because I'm usually working in the back in DIY clothes. But I think from April I'm going to open just daily hours and just see what comes in. It's always good for people to call in advance, because I'm just a sole entrepreneur, so I'm also on the road sometimes. But the idea is to really have a shop that everybody can come in and get a feel of it, because I have almost no clients in my country, which is weird, actually. Like almost all my stuff goes to Asia, America, and I thought, like, why not? And the only people that Google it are already people that are into antique weapons, and the old dealers that the generations before us, they just set up a shop and they created their clientele. So I'm hoping that's something I can do in the Netherlands with this gallery. And if not, at least I'll have a nice office to work in. Because the website is running anyway, so luckily the shop doesn't have to be super successful.
Yes, I mean, I'm also aware. I mean, I'm not into antique sales and so, but as you know, I've worked for many museums and collectors. I know that there are many collectors in the Persian Gulf region, and there are many collectors, of course, in the United States. Back then, we had also many collectors in Russia, so at the moment is a bit problematic. And I also know many collectors in Ukraine back then, right? But you're right. But I also know really good collectors in Italy, Germany, France, and UK. What about them, Peter?
Yeah. I do have clients all over Europe.
Yes.
It's just my own country is one of the. I think I have a handful of people that regularly buy.
Ah,
Um,
okay.
yeah, it's just.
Sorry, when you say about my country, I always think about Europe as a whole. You mean
I
your own
know what you
country?
mean. I
Sorry.
also feel more European than Dutch in a way.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I completely misunderstood. You mean about Holland or Netherlands? Just your
Yeah,
country. Sorry,
yeah,
sorry. I was
yeah,
completely okay. I
yeah,
was looking at Europe as one. Okay, of course, I
yeah.
understand. Yes, yeah, of course. Okay, I understand that. Is it because of the size or because of the lack of interest or less interest? What do you think? That in your
Yeah, I think when you go to England, for example, it was normal for an English lord to have a wall looking like this.
yes, they
And
do.
a lot of British people will at least know about it. And some young boys will grow up with the idea like, oh, I also want this. In the Netherlands, people were very frugal. It's, I think, because of the Calvinism. So we had a variety of Christianity that was extremely frugal. And at some point, they had a war with the Catholics, and they tried to have an alliance with the Ottomans because they're like, we'd rather be ruled by Muslims than by Catholics because the Catholics were too flamboyant with all their artwork and their ceremonies. And I think this frugalness was a red thread since maybe the 17th century all the way to now. And even though we don't have the religion anymore, a lot of millionaires in Holland will just drive a Volvo instead of a Ferrari. Like it's still not done to show off wealth. So
Are
I
you
think,
serious?
yeah, there's of course the new generation. There's no rules apply to them anymore, but it's been
Okay. I
people.
didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, the people that usually can afford this kind of stuff, they're very humble in their appearance, in their dress, in the cars they drive, and a lot of them I think never thought that this is something you can collect. So by making this crazy shop, I hope that I can at least inspire some of them. Like, hey, this might be interesting to to
Oh,
look. So we'll see.
beautiful. Next time I'm in Holland, I'm going to hopefully, see you and see your beautiful collection and shop. That would be really great.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much. Okay, Peter, can you show our viewers some of your nice items? I'm sure everyone would love to see these antiques. These are real things, right?
Hmm. Yeah, one of my favorite things at the moment is a thing that is it's not very valuable, but it has a lot of adventure in it, and I'm gonna get it.
Mhm.
This is a sword
Wow,
from Borneo.
Borneo.
Borneo is known for the Dayak headhunters, right? They
Yes.
have the Mandau. This sword was used by the Sea Dayak, and they were basically a combination of pirates and headhunters. So this is the ship you don't want to run into because they didn't just want your ship and your gold, but also your head. So there was no paying off these guys. And what I find very impressive is the precision of the grinding of these fullers. It's as good as imperial work from bigger cultures.
It is.
Yeah, it is really good, and it has all these inlays in copper and brass. Very thick at the base,
It
extremely thick blade,
is.
like
Peter,
about a
is
cent.
it welded steel?
Yeah, they got
It
this from the
is.
Chinese in the coastal areas by trade, and
Yes,
it
I
was
can
so
see the
expensive
welds.
that their tools were even made of stone because it was too expensive to make the tools of steel as well. So they made this with stone hammers and stones to grind it, stones from the river. And what's interesting is that there's a coin here. Let me see. It's not easy to see,
I
but
see that.
this coin is the other part of the adventure because now we have headhunters and pirates in the tropical seas. This coin, it says Raja Brook, and Raja Brook was a British merchant who perched down in the north of Kalimantan and set up a trading base. And pirates are not good for trade, so he fought the pirates, and the locals were very happy that he kept the pirates out of these lands because they were often raids where they would come for local heads. So the locals crowned him king, Raja Brook. So Raja Broek was fighting these pirates, but this pirate got hold of one of his coins and put it on his sword. Probably raided one of the ships or something, or in trade. I don't know. But it's just funny that this whole story of Raja and the pirates comes together in this charming little sword.
What is the handle made of? Is it bone or is it horn?
Deer antler. It's the part where the antler splits.
Yes, it
Yeah,
is. Beautiful.
nicely
Look at the
carved.
precision work.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
yeah. For a long time, I ignored tribal art. I thought it was like tribal, not very refined. And then a big Dayak collector showed me some of his best blades, and it opened my eyes. Like, wow, okay,
Yes,
it's
amazing.
it's not primitive at all. Some of this stuff.
Yes. And the scabbard is made of wood, correct?
Yeah, it's two halves of wood
Ah, I
and
see that. Yeah.
rattan bindings.
Beautiful. Yes, rattan binding. Is it
Yeah,
hair on the scabbard?
yeah. Not sure which hair. Goat is often used. This is a little bit thicker than goat, maybe horse.
Mhm. Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
the name of this sword, Peter? Just for our viewers.
It depends on who you ask. So you have a lot of ethnographers that recorded the names of these.
Mm.
Let me dig into my memory. Yeah, it's not a jimple. No,
Mm.
I'd have to look it up.
No
It's
problem.
it's a
No problem.
subtype that
You
eludes
know
me.
what I love about it is the curve of it, because most of them are straight, right?
Hmm.
And this one is really curved. That's what I really love, the curve on
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It's typical for the sea Dayak to have those curved swords. More,
Yes.
yeah, more like other naval swords.
No, yes, exactly. Exactly.
Another thing I really like is a big, heavy thing opposite of me. Yeah.
Oh God.
This is a German hunting gun
Yes.
made in Münster, late
Yes.
17th century.
Yes.
But the barrel is Ottoman.
Yeah, absolutely, Ottoman. I can
Yeah.
see that. The
And
guys have the beautiful welded steel of the barrel.
yeah, and this is here
No
you
problem.
can see the muzzle. It's not a rifle; it's a smooth bore, which is surprising because a lot of them are actually rifled.
Yes.
These were some of the best barrels made in the world at the time, as you well know, and many were captured in the siege of Vienna and the battles around it, and they ended up in these Turkenkammers, like these Turkish rooms in castles of especially the Habsburg nobility who fought them,
Yes.
and a lot of the arms just ended up on the wall, but because the barrels were so good, they mounted them on their hunting rifles. And I guess it was also a little bit of to brag to their friends while hunting, like, yeah, I got this from the siege of Vienna. You know, I was in the left flank, like recounting the war stories.
Of
And
course.
it's rare to find this on the market because a lot of them are still in the castles where the noblemen lived. And somehow this thing,
Is a flintlock? Yes, it is. Flintlock.
yeah, by George Bischlinger.
Mhm.
It's very
Beautiful. Mhm.
nice work. You can see the respect they had for the barrel. Everything is top
Yes.
notch.
Top notch.
I took
It's
it apart.
very rare to find
Yeah.
such a quality on the
And
market.
even the inside of the lock is engraved.
It
It's
is.
amazing how much detail there is in this thing. So this is also a thing I really like because it's a cross-cultural piece and it shows immense level of respect for this Ottoman barrel
Yes.
from
Does it
people.
have its ramrod still?
Yeah, but it's just wood. So I think it is a European
Oh,
make.
I see that. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes, it is.
it's just a simple wooden thing. It's always hard to date those ramrods because they get lost
Yes.
and replaced.
Yes, they were replaced often. Absolutely.
All right.
Beautiful.
Yeah. What else do I have? Yeah. Let me.
Mhm.
I'm quite fond of South Indian arms.
Oh yes, I remember last time you told me that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the typical South Indian daggers.
Beautiful.
They call it Chilanam, but when I looked into the dictionaries,
yes,
Chilanam could mean to peel or to cut. And often these old ethnographers, they would ask something that went lost in translation. And what I think is that somebody asked, "What is this?" And the guy who had it thought he asked, "What's it for?"
Yeah.
And then maybe he said Chilanam, like to cut or something. So I think that's how the name got into circulation, and it still is. But it's.
Can I see the steel closer, please? Can I see this pattern of?
Yeah, there's no pattern visible at the moment. This is really
No.
the finish I got it in. And
Yes.
when it has this original finish, I tend not to etch it, but it is most likely wood because I see no forging flaws. Normally, if it's laminated, you will have some little lines.
Yeah, you do.
And what I like about it is the state of preservation. And you see that little tiny disc there, and then the
Yes.
thickness here. There's quite a sensibility of design that went into it, and they're surprisingly handy. So they curve like this and like that. So when you stab, you actually have more reach.
Yes.
But when you cut, the pressure accelerates when you make the turn. And if somebody hits your hand, you're very unlikely to lose it. And this is very handy for example, wrestling, where you can open your hand and grab a guy and still use the dagger. So despite the ornate look, it's a very practical thing.
Do I see dragon hats?
Yeah. It's almost Persian in.
Yes, I just want to say it looks like Persian.
Yeah, and I think it was inspired by it.
Yeah, it looks so Persian, true.
Yeah, there's a couple of Persian like elements, like this base as well, the shape of it.
What a perfect dagger.
It's almost like that Timurid guard in the the jade one.
Exactly, like Timurid guards, which survived up to the Qajar period, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is the blade sturdy? I think the blade should be very sturdy, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is.
It is. Yeah, we can say.
Especially the tip. Yeah, it's a heavy thing. It's bigger than most of them are.
Yes, yes, very big, very big, very big.
And then another one I really like. It's Vijayanagara Qatar. Vijayanagara Empire was an alliance of Hindu empires that were fighting the Muslim sultanates in the north, and they constantly raided the south. And normally these Hindu kingdoms were fighting each other because one worshipped Vishnu, the other worshipped another god. Yeah. But then when the Muslims came down, it threatened their way of life as Hindus. So they're like, okay, let's form an alliance.
Yes.
And push back. But it's always been sort of an internal soap. So eventually they crumbled and were overrun anyway. This is one of the last iterations of the Vijayanagara Qatar. So the typical ones would have the shield going over here.
Yes.
And late 16th, beginning of the 17th century, they would lose the shield. And that was probably because they went from a primary weapon that you just have in your hand when you commence battle to a secondary weapon that had to be grasped quickly because they had adopted the saber from the north at this point in time. So this is one of the last Vijayanagara type Qatar made. And a characteristic of them is that they're quite wide here.
Yes.
And then narrow. And they have the yali, which is the Vijayanagara symbol.
That's the yali, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the yali.
And when the Deccan Sultanates took over, you can see all the Hindu iconography disappeared in favor of geometric patterns and things like that. So this is,
Is it gilded?
Yeah, and also in a typical South Indian fashion, they first silver plate it, and then they gild the silver plating. And in the north, they would apply the gold directly to the steel.
Yes.
I'm not sure why, but I think it may have had something to do with the humidity in South India. Maybe this was more durable in a very humid environment. Because it's whenever you see this construction, it's always South Indian.
Yes.
And it's the hottest, most humid place on Earth. I think the combination of heat and humidity there is crazy, and it's not good
Do
for
they
sleep.
represent a type of flower in the handle when you go up?
Yeah, I
I think
haven't been
so.
able to identify what this is yet.
You know what it looks like? Look, I don't want to pass any judgments on South Indian symbolism.
Mhm.
Does it look like a lotus flower?
Yeah, it might be a very stylized lotus. It's not in the way that they would normally do it, but of course, being
Yeah,
India, there's always variety.
yeah,
And this is also like petals almost,
yeah.
like opening
Magnificent.
flowers. Yeah.
Magnificent.
And the blade is most likely European.
Ah, yes,
Yeah, they
yeah,
really favor them because they're quite flexible. And
yes,
if you make a wood's blade this thin, it will be quite brittle. Woods is perfect for sabers and things like that, but
yes,
for these swords, this is a better material.
yes.
So yeah, this is also a kata I really like.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
It's very rare to find South Indian item of that quality, really.
Yeah,
Very rare.
yeah. I've had quite a few, and almost all of them, all the gold and silver is gone because of the
Yeah.
humidity. The iron
Yes,
underneath rusts, and it just pushes away all the
yes,
decoration there was.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Beautiful, beautiful. Do you have something else to show us, Peter?
Um, yeah, I do. Okay, here they are. This is a set of pistols. They
Yeah,
often call them dueling pistols, but I think it's just a pair because they're single shot. And if you have two, you can shoot twice. So I don't
yes,
think most of them are dueling. Um, what I find very interesting about these is just this typical Belgium work,
yeah.
but the barrels are Sri Lankan.
They are.
And I found only one other Sri Lankan barrel that is in a museum in Kuwait now, and it's not mounted. And then there's these two that are mounted by Lambert de Biron in Liège. And Liège was a place where a lot of Dutch officers would have their guns made. It was a famous gun making center. And the workmanship on the European part is late 18th century, maybe first decade of the 19th. And the Dutch lost Sri Lanka at the end of the 18th century. So a lot of Sri Lankan officers would probably go back, and also the burghers, the civilians. So I think these barrels were commissioned as a souvenir and then made into this set in the Netherlands or in Liège at the time, which
Yes,
at that point wasn't Dutch anymore. It was Belgian.
Belgium.
Yeah.
Very nice. Beautiful.
Yeah, when I found them, they were offered by a dealer as being Roman inspired, and I was looking at this decoration like this is not Roman. This is something far more rare.
Yes,
You knew it was
unbelievable.
something special, but yeah,
Beautiful.
really nice.
Peter, can you show us, if available, three areas I really love? One Persian item, one Chinese item, one Japanese item.
Okay, let me see. I'm low on Persian, but from the corner of my eye, I see something here.
Okay, perfect.
This is a interesting dagger.
Oh my God. Do you know what this dagger is? The counterpart is in Iranian museum from Royal Collection.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it has an agate hilt.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's in the Miniature Museum of Tehran from Royal Collection. Yeah.
Nice. Is it published? Because I couldn't find any.
It is in Arms and Armor from Iran. You can see that.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's odd. I went through the book and I didn't see it. I need to.
Okay, it's not agate. Yes, let me just look at it. It's jade handle. That's right.
Oh, okay. So that
The
one is
other
jade.
one is jade. Yes, now I remember that.
Yeah. And yeah, the woods is really good quality, and it doesn't show very well on this camera, I think, but it's very.
Yes, no, it
Right.
shows. Oh, hold on. Keep it. No, don't move, please. I can see it clearly. Beautiful. This is
This one
magnificent.
I really like. It doesn't have a scabbard, sadly, but yeah, it's a nice piece.
Magnificent. So I cannot find such a quality. Yeah.
Hunting scenes.
Chiseling is magnificent as usual.
Yeah. Typical scenes for this type of piece. Then China and Japan. Let me see what I have in China.
What I'm really happy next to the Chinese items you offer are the Japanese item you offer. Very nice.
So this is a Chinese sword that connects a little bit to Persia, because you know the tears of the afflicted, the rolling balls in the channels.
Yes.
There are, as far as I know, 5 or 6 Chinese swords that also have it. And Chinese officers had to buy, or usually bought their equipment from senior officers that retired, so uncles, fathers. So you often find older blades in later mounts. So this sword is typical mid-19th century soldier's sword with a 17th century blade in it with these rolling balls.
Oh God, I've never seen it on a Chinese blade.
Yeah. And what's interesting is there's one channel on this side, and there's 2 on this side.
Yeah.
And they connect. So you can see right through it. You see there?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Does it make a sound when you move or not really?
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bit. Oh yeah, it does. I can hear. Is it a welded steel, the blade?
It's it's like laminated steel.
Yeah.
But I cannot see the construction of these channels. And what's interesting, I had this, and I wanted to sell it to one of my best customers. And he's like, well, you know what? I also have one, and I'm downgrading. So I actually have 2 now. I'll get the other. So this is in a typical 19th century dress.
Oh, yes.
For a soldier. The other one is more, an earlier dress, probably late 18th century.
Yes.
So this is the typical function that you would see up to early 19th century. This is also close to what it would originally be mounted in, but you can see from the profile of the pommel, for example, it's very wide. This is a later feature. If it was less like a fan, that would be really 17th century. And it's silver inlaid.
Yes, I see.
And also these channels. This one has lost most of the balls, so I'm gonna have my metal worker replace some of them. Because of polishing, these channels widen a little bit, and then they tend to fall out. But it's quite something. I knew these existed from publications, and you hear some collectors talk about them, and suddenly I've never had one in my hand, and suddenly now there's 2.
Yeah. What is this the blade profile of them in Chinese typology?
It starts quite narrow, it's fairly straight, and then widens out.
And widens up. Yeah, I see that. Yes.
If you see this profile, this is very typical for throughout the 17th century. So the founder of the Qing dynasty, Nurhaci, and his son Hong Taiji, they would have sabers like this.
Yes.
Early 17th.
And I'm sure it's a very sturdy blade.
Yeah, it's quite thick. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's about maybe 7 millimeters at the base. And it doesn't taper much, so it's really thick all the way to the back edge.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's still about 5 or 6 millimeters there.
Very nice.
Okay, and then let's go to Japan. My best Japanese sword is in storage, and maybe we can discuss it some other time because it's very hard to see anything with this light anyway. It needs
Yes.
proper pictures. But I do have something quite notable. And this also looks good on a camera like this. So this is a Tanto.
Oh God. Is it dragonfly?
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
And it has little, can I see, little swallows.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the rain on the smaller mounts, also on this one. And these logos, they're the mon of the Tokugawa family, the ruling family.
Yes.
And these dragonflies are interesting because dragonflies reproduce in the water of the rice paddies in Japan. And they eat insects that eat rice. So a lot of dragonflies means good harvest. No dragonflies means maybe upcoming famine. So dragonflies were a very auspicious sign in Japan, where famine was really a real danger. And also the samurai saw themselves as the dragonflies. They cleansed society of the unwanted pests that could harm their society. So these dragonflies are often seen on Japanese arms and armor. You also see them on helmets sometimes.
Yes.
And the execution of these is really, really good. It even has the veins in the wings.
Magnificent.
And then the blade is fairly short for how big the scabbard is.
Yes.
But it also doesn't go further in, even if you have the blade alone. So the scabbard is made for it, which is rare because often things are switched around in Japan.
Yes.
This is made by Uda Kunifusa. He was a smith working in the 14th century in Etchu. And if you look at the spine, I don't know if you can see it, but it has a Mitsu Mune, which means it has an extra facet in the back. So it's not like this, but it has 3 facets.
3 facets.
And it is typical for the Soshu masters. Masamune would make his daggers like that. Shintogo Kunimitsu. So these are like some of the biggest smiths that Japan knew. And Norishige was one of these smiths that went to Etchu. And Uda Kunifusa was one of his students. So he's a student of one of the Grand Masters. Now, I must add that he didn't pay that much attention because it's very far from Norishige. Norishige, all the effects will be a lot more pronounced than this.
Can you see patterns in the jihada? Can you see patterns in the jihada?
Yeah, but very faintly so, which is
okay.
More typical for the Uda school. So Norishige would have a very outstanding hada, which would remind of pattern welded steel from Asia, like really like a wood grain, really strong.
Yeah.
And this is almost blackish, and if you pay real good attention, you can see the nie all over. So
yeah,
it is kind of Soshu, but just not very outspoken, which is very typical for the later Soshu-inspired blades that either go very flamboyant or they lose a little bit of that contrast that you see in the good early stuff. But of course, price difference between this and Norishige is a few $100,000 as well. So it's not up to his. Yeah, it's not up to his teacher, but it's still it's nice to have a piece that was in the vicinity of such greatness and does show some of its characteristics. The Hamon
is the tank side. Is the tank signed?
No, this is attributed. So it's
Attributed.
unsigned. And unsigned is actually very common in Japan, because if
Yes.
you
Yes.
made something for someone really important, it was inappropriate for you to put your name on it.
Absolutely. Most
So
of them are unsigned. Absolutely.
yeah.
In
So even
contrast to what many collectors think, most
yeah,
of them are unsigned. The same
yeah,
was in Iran, Persia. Most shamshirs are unsigned. And people always think because they don't have a cartouche, oh, it's not good enough. I said,
yeah,
it
yeah,
has nothing to do with cartouche. Look at the
yeah,
blade. I don't even know why people always think it should
yeah,
be, something on it. Right? I
yeah,
don't even know why.
yeah,
Absolutely. It has nothing to do with that.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think
Peter, go ahead, please. Mhm.
yeah, yeah. In the Shinto period, branding became more important, and if you have a Shinto piece like after 1600, um, almost everything should be signed, or else. But the old masters, yeah, the majority is unsigned.
Uh, Peter, do you have any Japanese blade at the moment, which you can see Utsuri, that bluish light into that when you look up there?
I do have one, but it is in storage at the moment. But
Okay, no
for
problem.
next time, I can take it out. It's a
Yes.
really nice Ko Aoi blade,
Hmm.
made in the early Kamakura period, so 1320s to 1340s. It's really, oh no, 1220s, 1240s. I mean,
Okay.
really old.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very, very,
It has
very.
really strong usui, which is a hallmark of that school, and that one is signed actually, which is quite rare to have
Oh,
something
it's
that old
nice.
signed. Yeah,
Yes. I mean, it's also very rare to see that, right, on many blades. That's what
yeah,
makes it very nice.
yeah,
Very
yeah.
nice.
This one is one of only 4 by that smith with the signature, and the
Yes.
other 3 were important art objects. They couldn't be exported anymore,
Mhm.
and this one made it to the private market. So this one
Mhm.
ended up here in Holland. Yeah.
Um, I just don't want to take up much of your time, but the last question, I know this is
Mhm.
a question which every one of us is being asked. I mean, do you have any antique sword from Mongolia?
Hmm. I do. I have one blade and one exactly the same blade, but then with the hilt still. Very crude. It's also quite late, so it's not really from their heyday. Uh, I think 19th century,
Mhm.
18th at best. Very heavy cavalry sword with a lot of steppe influences.
Mhm.
I actually seen one in a Chinese collection that had that cross guard, very Persian in style.
Mhm.
Yeah, mine is an unmounted blade and one with a typical Chinese round guard
Oh.
and a round pommel.
Mhm.
It's not very nice thing to look at, but it is definitely Mongolian. Yeah.
You don't have it by chance next to you, right?
No, no, all my stuff is in storage,
In
most of it.
storage.
Yeah,
Okay, then maybe next time
yeah. I have
we
to be
can.
more organized in April when we open. I'll have
Okay.
everything in easily accessible cases at least, so I
Mhm.
can pull out anything then.
And
Yeah,
in April, you're going to have a special day which you will announce on your website. Am I correct?
yeah, yeah. It
Okay.
depends on a couple of craftsmen because they're making a cabinet and some things. So when everything is done, I'm gonna probably late April, begin May. Everything will be done if there are no setbacks, of course, because it's an old house and often when you remove a plank, you're like, oh, I didn't want to see this. Yeah,
Okay,
but
I
it's,
have a question from one of my team members that because I said I'm going to interview Peter again. Question
mhm.
from him is the following to ask you, Peter. Is there any culture you just say, I'm not offering blades or swords from that culture, for example, or area? So do you also, okay, his question was, do you also offer European blades, antique European blades?
Yeah, yeah. So I have no confinement in cultures.
Mhm.
I think every culture, if they did their best, they created some really good stuff.
Absolutely.
It's just that with some cultures, the good stuff is more common than with other cultures. Or some cultures, you really have to look for it. But if I can find something European that is really good, I also buy it. So I have a Dutch sword here. I didn't even try to sell it yet because I really like it myself. I can get it.
Okay, sure.
This is a transitional, small sword.
Yeah.
So it is already the small sword format, but size-wise, it's really close to a rapier. It's really long. It has this pierced base and really nicely chiseled.
Really nice.
Yeah. So normally I'm mostly into Asian arms, but this really interests me as well. The ironwork is really
It's
nicely done.
magnificent.
Yeah, and this is typical for the Dutch, like third quarter of the 17th century work, the chiseled iron. Nobody knows exactly for who they were made, but there's a theory that maybe they were like frat boy communities because they were known to carry these swords, and they would get into fights a lot in Amsterdam. So you'd have the Catholic frat boys against the Protestants, and they would go outside, and people died like quite regularly in the weekends because they were drinking and things got out of hand. And they're ornate, but they're also very sturdy because it's all iron. So there's this theory that maybe this is what they would wear because the normal gentleman who wouldn't fight, they would go into soft metals and much more ornate
Yes.
swords. But it could just as well have been a Dutch fashion at the time.
Yes.
There's quite a few of them out there. Most of them have horses on it. This one has mythical scenes. And there's one in the Victoria and Albert of this style that has a lady with her skirt up on the guard. So when you're in the on guard position, you're looking under the skirt. It's quite whimsical.
Are you
Uh,
serious? I didn't see in
yeah,
Victoria.
it's in
Okay.
the V&A. You should look it up. And this one
No,
also, it
then-
has some kind of naked demon somewhere. It's not easy to see, but this is a
yeah, I do. Yeah.
funny scene. They're often quite whimsical.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
And Peter, just one more question because I needed also to ask you. You also deal in Hungarian blades, sabers, because everyone is fascinated by Hungarian blades. I don't know why, but I think do you also sell them, right? From Hungary?
I've never had one.
No? Okay, because
No.
they asked me to ask you.
Yeah, yeah. I've never had one. At least none was offered to me that I either wanted to have or could afford. So there was one that was really, really good, but this was 5 years ago. It was 60,000 euros.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, no. And the others, there's a lot of composite stuff, and there's nothing I've seen that I was confident like, okay, this is okay and well priced. So yeah,
Yeah, there
sadly,
are
none,
many
none
composites.
has
Yeah.
come my way yet. But it's not a culture I deliberately ignore. But
Yes.
yeah, it's hard to get as well. Very rare on the market, good ones.
Okay, then I promise this is the last question. Can you show us something from Ottoman Empire?
Yes,
That would be great.
I have a fantastic dagger on the way that you're doing a translation of.
Yes.
That's still stuck with UPS,
Oh,
but I
okay.
do have a nice sword. These are often called pala, but I think kilish is more appropriate. What do you think?
I think Kilich is more appropriate. Actually, you know, I'm working now with I think actually I worked with Turkish scholars and at the university, and now I'm going to work with them more closely because they chose me as on an editorial board, and they all say Kilich to them.
Yeah,
I don't know where the word pala comes from. To be honest, I have no idea.
yeah, me neither. So
Beautiful.
this is nice in that almost all the gold is still intact, and usually they're a lot more worn. Can you read that?
Yes, tawakkulat ala Allah. Place your trust in God.
Uh-huh.
Of course. Let me just see if I can read more.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
the only piece of
oh, it's
text.
the only one.
Yeah.
Tawakkulat ala Allah. Place your trust in God. Yeah. What a beautiful handwriting. Can I see the handwriting again, please?
Yeah, sure.
Stop, please. Oh my God. This is, look at the pattern of the blade.
Yeah, it's a very fine pattern weld that almost looks like woods in a way.
Almost.
But the lines are too long to be actual woods. But
It's
it's
pattern
very
welding.
very close to it in some ways.
This is magnificent, Peter. Oh God, guys, you rarely see such blade in such quality. Unbelievable. Oh, it was scabbard as well, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, it's a
I
nice fit. And it
ah
has these hallmarks.
yes. Can I see the back of it? Oh, wire stitching, Simduzi, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Ah, original wire stitching.
yeah. That's what I like about this. Everything is original, untouched, good condition.
Mhm.
There's some slight insect damage here. That's the only real damage it has. Otherwise, it's really good. And usually the silver is quite thin, and often it's bent and everything. But this is really well preserved. It's funny because a good friend of mine, Philip Tom, I showed it to him. He's like, "Oh, I had one just like it in the '70s." And then he looked at it more closely. It's like, "This is the one. I had this exact one in the '70s," and it just went round and round and round, and then ended up here. So funny how you see old friends sometimes.
Yeah, this is really funny. Oh,
Yeah,
beautiful,
yeah. Even this is
beautiful.
not dented yet. Normally, there's all kinds of problems with the shape.
Everything is intact on this sword.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
yeah, I like
Very
it.
beautiful. Peter, I know I asked you tons of questions. Do you have anything from Africa just to close our discussion today?
It is, but I'm a rather small guy and I cannot reach it at the moment.
No
But
problem.
it is hanging there, the upper one.
Yes, I see that.
It's Maasai. They call it lion hunting spears, but it's just their basic spear. And about 1/3 of the blade is like a sword.
Ah,
A lot of those are kind of touristy, but this one has some real age to it. I
yes,
haven't been able to really research it yet, but I thought it's a nice thing on
beautiful.
the wall. Yeah.
It was really very informative, and I'm going to put the link of your company and website here so people can come and see and look. And
Thank you.
if they want to, yeah, of course, if you want to, buy, please, so we can come to you and see that. Really beautiful. I really hope, Peter, we are going to see you more often on our channel because,
Yeah.
many people are happy to see your stuff, I'm sure, and also many collectors, and to see what you offer. Very beautiful work, very beautiful, informative website you have. Thank you very much, Peter. And
Thank you.
again, thanks a lot for coming and sharing your beautiful pieces with us today.
You're most welcome. Thanks for
Thank
having
you
me.
very much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.